this is the, I call it generation 1 of our hybrids for the non-engaging, which is probably the one product that is the most out of the normal. But bear in mind also what Henrik told at the launch meeting about tolerances and forces and how intra-oral cementation is actually a way to achieve a passive fit. This is designed for exactly that. You have the tapered design so you can overtray the restoration in the patient's mouth. This is the whole basis of the design philosophy of this product. We have the angulated screw channel possibilities with the hexagonal screws. This is the angulation chart that we made for the first generation. That shows, most importantly, on the non-engaging, how much you can angulate the different platforms where the screw will still drop in to position and it can actually fall back out, so it creates a knee that will allow it for that. If you want to do angulation more than that, especially on the long screws for like the plage, you will need to after grind the zirconia restoration internally. But this is what we tested for the engaging. The screw is embedded in the restoration. And we have these angulations. This is on the first generation. Then we have the whole launch of the new ones. And here you see the complete portfolio of hybrid bases. We have the non-engaging generation 1 and generation 2. We have the engaging generation 1 and generation 2. So generation of the engaging second generation is quite similar to the first generation. The only thing we actually change is that you have a higher chimney, and this is all about crown versus chimney length ratio. I think it's shown over here. So here you have all these differences. We have 3 mm here, and we have a 5.5 mm. We have a cutout here on the new engaging, which is for the angulation bit for the hexalobular screw, but it also acts as a locking mechanism, which you will see in just a short while. We have the same philosophy of this chamfer going out to 0 to distribute the cement back into the restoration. We have the helixes, small and large helixes going up and down, adding to the retention and the overall retention surface. And of course, on the tall one, you have a larger cementation area, meaning you have a higher retention area, simply because of the higher chimney. We always have, or up until now at least, we have one gingival height, and then the philosophy is that the implant or the hybrid base is not wider than the implant, so you can, in theory, create your own emergence profile in the restoration, which makes it obviously that we have this need for a higher chimney for the lower placed implants, which is quite obvious here. What we do see is that we do have customers that are actually using the generation 1 engaging hybrid base, the 3 mm, to do a custom abutment. A custom healing cap. So they just do a restoration like that, they cut it, and then they mill it out of PMMA, and just leave it in. And then they have a custom gingival former using the short hybrid base engaging. Here you definitely see the difference between the crown length and the chimney height ratio. We're actually doing a study right now on the impact of this crown length versus chimney height, which is going to be quite interesting to see how much do you actually gain, or what does it actually mean. Is it as much as we think, or is the difference actually smaller? Here you see the locking system. The new updated locking system is in fact this U shape which we have for angulation. This is the previous locking on generation 1, and we kept it, but right now it actually acts more like a tripod stabilizer inside the zirconia crown. So it will center and balance because you have this 3-point alignment, but the actual locking system or guidance is from this surface, meaning that you will actually feel quite sooner than you did on the first generation, where the actual placement of the crown and hybrid bases. We did get some feedback that this was very short, and sometimes it's difficult to feel when it's actually is in the correct position. This one will guide you a lot sooner, and it's just easier. We have the same features as we have on Generation 1. The only thing different is that we have the higher chimney. Still have the base log, we also still have the lot number engraved, and all the features that we have from Generation 1. So basically the only difference in the engaging is the height. When it comes to the non-engaging, you see a larger difference between the two. So we have the Generation 1 that has a tapered design. You now have a hybrid base which is taller. It is more straight. This one is 15 degrees. This one is actually 2 degrees, but that is simply because that you need a little tapered design if you want to have a really good milling strategy. So if you have like a completely straight cylinder, you will have a tool that will actually drag along the sides and more or less make a not so nice surface in zirconia, but it will also actually grind a little away from it. So we have actually a 2 degree tapered design here, but it's next to nothing, so it looks straight, but it is for the milling purposes. We have our guide grip fingers, which we brought along from the Generation 1, which will keep the restoration inside, or keep the hybrid base inside the restoration simply by these guide fingers if you want to do drying, which is extremely important if you want to do intra-oral cementation. We kept them on Generation 2. Now we have embedded them, meaning that we have of course, a taller chimney, but we also have these guide grip fingers where we'll hold it in place in the restoration, but it will also add to the retention surfaces while cementing. The notable difference is the gingival height for this version, especially on the abutment level. As you see here, this is the mover. You have a reduced gingival height, which will add to the aesthetics of it. You have a much smaller visual metal surface, which you see here. It has been reduced. It was now 3/10 of a millimeter. Before it was 9/10 of a millimeter. So for aesthetic purposes, this can look more appealing in some situations. We now have a flat surface where you actually cement on, which is also a benefit while not doing intra-oral cementation. We have, as I mentioned, we have the guide grip fingers that will keep it in place, and as I said, it will actually also add to retention because you will get cement in between, so it will kind of like lock it in. And you have the same features as you do on the first generation. Here we have the implant level, and again here you have a difference in the gingival height. You have a higher chimney, and also think it comes here. We did do some differences in height, meaning that we actually divided them into implant level design and abutment level design. And abutment level design for an engaging hybrid base sounds kind of crazy, but looking at the stroma and tissue level, we actually treat it as an abutment. So abutment level design is 4.5 millimeter high. And implant level design is for the engaging 5.5, and for the non-engaging is 5 millimeter. So we do see a higher chimney all around on the new version. And then you talked about the screws. We have two options of screws. We have what we call a prosthetic screw, and we have a hexalobular screw. So our philosophy when it comes to the screws is that we have the same seating area as the original screw. We have the same surface treatment as the original screw. So some are untreated, some is coated with a low friction surface, and we coat them accordingly to what the original manufacturer does. The difference between the two is that the prosthetic screw utilizes the implant manufacturer driver connection. So if you use a prosthetic screw, you're going to use the original implant manufacturer driver, simply because that not introducing an Elos driver, but using a driver that the dentist already have. For Noble Biocare, all the prosthetic screws are compatible with the Unigrip driver, and not the Omni. For the hexalobular screw is our screw for angulated screw channel, and for this one you need the hexalobular driver. And what is important is that, well, when you order a hybrid base, you order it single packed, and you need to order the screw that you want to use. If you want to go for the prosthetic screw, it is for straight screw channels. If you want an angulated screw, it's the hexalobular screw that you're looking for. The prosthetic screw channels is the original manufacturer's driver that is needed. And I do see one comment more is that since we have the same screw seating as the original manufacturer, you can in fact also use the original screw if you should prefer that. I think looking at the tools, we have the drivers, but I wanted to show you, here we have it. So here we have the drivers for the hexalobular screws. They come in 3 different lengths. They have the ISO latch standard connection, so it will fit into either any ISO latch handle. We have in 3 lengths, 18, 26, and 34 millimeters. And they angulate up to 28 degrees. They are in fact the standardized driver connection. So you find the similar design from other manufacturers. We just call it the hexalobular solution.